Hello, and welcome back. So this is the first episode of the year for Dino, because I haven't done one of these in forever. So hello and welcome back to the Dino Show, where we journey through Canada's prehistoric pasts, one dinosaur at a time. If you haven't seen any of the episodes before, I talk all about Canadian dinosaurs, and it's been a long time. I think I did Styracosaurus last time. That was probably months ago. Today we're talking about Tenontosaurus, which we'll get into it. It's not really even Canadian, but we'll go over that in a second. So, it's a plant-eating dinosaur that dominated the early Cretaceous and whose cousins walked the same floodplains and swamps that once covered Alberta and British Columbia. Let's step back about 115 million years ago and meet our next Canadian connection. So, before we dive into Tenontosaurus' world, here's a little history. I always cover, why it was named, where its name came from. So this dinosaur was formally named in 1970 by the American paleontologist John Ostrom. He called it Tenontosaurus, which means sinew lizard, because of the stiff tendons running through its tail, a defining feature of the species, and you will see later on in pictures how defining it really is. Now, Ostrom's work on Tenontosaurus, along with the predator Deinonychus, which you might have known as the kind of the theme or the idea of where the raptors came from Jurassic Park, it helped to reshape our understanding of dinosaur behavior. So imagine a world of rivers winding through green floodplains, low conifer forests, and fern-covered ground. If you were standing there, the largest plant might tower above you. But the dinosaurs like Tenontosaurus, they were already busy shaping the world. Tenontosaurus earned its name from a truly remarkable feature. As I said before, its tail. So more than half the length of its body, it was reinforced with a lattice of stiff tendons, keeping it straight and strong like a giant balancing rod. Kind of picture your modern day, lizards when they run, their tail kind of comes up. This was always very much straight out, balancing, very long part of its body. The tail wasn't just for show though. It helped it move, rear up to reach higher foliage, and possibly even fend off attackers. At full size, Tenontosaurus stretched 6 to 8 meters long. That's about 20 to 26 feet, and weighing nearly a ton. Picture a pickup truck with legs, but alive, breathing, and browsing the forest. We have a size chart for Tenontosaurus versus people to kind of understand it. So you can see the smaller size is in gray, the larger size is in black, red is us. So not a huge dinosaur by any means, but not a small dinosaur. And then red is also Deinonychus, which would be a very big, very prominent issue for this dinosaur. As you can see, size-wise, it was pretty close to like a full-sized Tenontosaurus. That'd be not a good time. So most of the time, Tenontosaurus moved on all fours, grazing on ferns, cycads, and conifers. But it had the flexibility to rear up on its hind legs, using its massive tail as a counterbalance to reach leaves and fruits, and even other low browsers, or even fruits that other low browsers couldn't reach. Fossil evidence shows that it was everywhere. And now this is kind of the part where we talk about the fact that it's not really Canadian, but I'll get into that in a second. At some sites, Tenontosaurus bones outnumber other herbivores 5-1, which means this was a prolific dinosaur. It was a keystone species, meaning its abundance also made it a prime food source for predators and an integral part of the ecosystem. So fun fact, Tenontosaurus had herds, which is obviously, it makes sense, but the ground would tremble under the weight. Ferns would bend as they fed, and their tails would sway with each step. These weren't solitary dinosaurs, as I said, and they moved in groups, providing safety in numbers. Now you might be asking, if Tenontosaurus fossils are mostly known in the United States, why are we even talking about them for Canadian dinosaurs? The answer lies in the ecosystem. So the ecosystem, like the floodplains, the rivers, the swamps, the lowlands, that Tenontosaurus called home, stretched from north into what is now Canada. So stretched, I guess, north into what is now Canada. In Alberta, the Blairmore Group preserves rocks with the same time period. The Aptian, or to the Albian stages of the early Cretaceous, they all had this very same. So here, paleontologists found ornithopod tracks and fragmentary bones suggesting that the herds of Tenontosaurus-like plant eaters roamed these lowlands. Up in northern British Columbia, the Sustit Basin produced a small iguanodon described in 2011 as the Sustit dinosaur. So it's not named yet, doesn't have a name. Someone wants to name it, go ahead. So it's not Tenontosaurus, but it's a close relative, showing that the area they lived in makes a lot of sense that they could have gone north. Even later, Alberta hosted large iguanodonts, close relatives of iguanodon, continuing the role of big plant eater. So I had to look it up. We're going to show a family scale for early families of Tenontosaurus. So you've got Edmontosaurus regalius, which we've talked about before. You have iguanodon. I think in red is Tenontosaurus. Camptosaurus is in blue, and then I can't really read the two smaller ones. Those are all part of the same family. Now the role with this. So we have the early iguanodonians, about 15 to 108 million years ago. Evidence, we found the tracks and fragmentary bones. Pretty cool. Significance, though, is that these unnamed specimen levels, these fossils are consistent with medium-sized Tenontosaurus-like herbivores, so indicating that similar plant eaters did roam Alberta. The Sustit dinosaur has not been named yet, found at the same time 15 million years ago. Small iguanodonians, similar in body plan to Tenontosaurus but smaller, and shows that Tenontosaurus-like dinosaurs lived in BC. And then the large one in Alberta, as I said before, it's slightly younger than Tenontosaurus, which means it's more closer to, I guess, us than 15 million years. So we're going maybe 100 million years. And it was a large big plant eater, which means it definitely came from some sort of species like this. Then there's Zephyriosaurus and Convolusaurus, which are other species of Tenontosaurus in the States. Just kind of shows how prolific this is. Zephyriosaurus was from Montana and Wyoming, while Convolusaurus is from Texas. So all of this demonstrates that Canada shared the same Cretaceous ecosystem, floodplains, swamps, and forests that made Tenontosaurus successful. Its story may not be directly preserved in Canadian rocks yet, but its ecological legacy certainly was. So picture early Cretaceous Alberta, a muddy river, winding through conifers, herds of Tenontosaurus-like dinosaurs grazing peacefully, all while keeping an eye out for predators hiding in the shadows. So think that, the same kind of atmosphere, same kind of idea, but just a little north. So Tenontosaurus, as it wasn't free from danger at all. And it shared its role with Dinichus, which is the raptor-like predator that inspired Jurassic Park's iconic hunters. And that's just a call from Path of Titans. So I stole it from Path of Titans. Please don't sue me. As you can see, your fossil recreated. It wasn't found this way, but it's Dinichus and a Tenontosaurus. So fossils show nearly 20% of Tenontosaurus sites also contain Dinichus remains. One particular dramatic site preserves 5 Dinichus around a single Tenontosaurus. Did they hunt in packs, like wolves? Or were they engaged in a feeding frenzy over a single carcass, kind of like vultures? Some scientists even suggest cannibalism among the raptors themselves, which could be a thing, but the exact behavior is still debated. But the fossil evidence tells a story of tension, danger, and survival. Imagine this, and I kind of have a picture for this. A scene, the Tenontosaurus herd grazing quietly, the sense of predators in the air, a rustle in the ferns, and sudden chaos. The herd scatters. Dinichus leaps, and survival drama unfolds, just as it did 15 million years ago. So I don't have a credit for who made this. I found it on Reddit, but kind of idea. Tenontosaurus using its tail, as I said, its massive tail that's, I think it's a half of its actual length, like a bat, just throwing Dinichus. But again, this is something that would happen all the time. And I think that's the incredible thing is we have 2 massive animals locked in combat that you would see daily. And that's why I think dinosaurs are just so cool. So as you can see there, Tenontosaurus may use its tail as a defensive item. The herding behaviors could have reduced the rate of individual risk, again, strength in numbers. And its size and speed likely saved it from being prey from a lot of bigger dinosaurs, but raptors, small and quick. So Tenontosaurus also provides fascinating insight into dinosaur growth and reproduction. Some thigh bones preserve medullary bone, which is the tissue modern birds produce when laying eggs. This shows Tenontosaurus could reproduce before reaching full adult size, which is very incredible because that's what birds kind of do now, and this shows that evolutionary pathway. It grew quickly, reaching sexual maturity early, and ensured the food web kept running. Again, when you have an animal that's a keystone species, they have to keep dying and making more food. That's how wildebeest work in Africa. In a world full of predators, early reproduction was a key to survival. Tenontosaurus wasn't just a passive diner on ferns, though. It was a vital player in the ecosystem, stability, and its continuity. Continuity. I don't know, it's hard to say sometimes. As they died, though, they definitely contributed, becoming mulch, becoming food, kind of how that all works. So, while Tenontosaurus may not have been the flashiest dinosaur by any means, it was one of the most important. It was a common plant eater, a frequent raptor target, and an adaptable survivor in changing climates. It was a backbone species of early Cretaceous, shaping ecosystems across North America, from Texas all the way to what we now call Canada. Its story remains that even if a dinosaur's fossils aren't yet found in Canada, the ecosystem it lived definitely did. And the roles it played here were mirrored. Tenontosaurus and its relatives shaped the land, the plants, and the predators of Canada's deep past. So thank you very much for joining me. It was a kind of a quicker episode today, but I really enjoyed it. So next episode, we'll uncover more dinosaurs that called Canada home. We're still in the T's. T-Rex will be here eventually. It's taken me a lot longer than I thought to get through A to Z, and apparently the national British website that I got all these dinosaurs from lied to me because, again, Tenontosaurus is not Canadian, but we're doing it anyways. So we'll see what happens. If you enjoyed today's episode, share it with your fellow dino enthusiasts. I'd appreciate that. If you have any favorite Canadian dinosaurs you'd like to hear about, reach out to me. I'd happily talk about them, and you might just hear it in a featured future episode of the El Dino Show. So my name is Eldon Atkin. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed today. I'll catch you next time.